Thanks, Philip, and welcome to Today in Putnam County, the show that's talking about all the great things happening in our community. Hope you're having a great Saturday morning. My guest today is Putnam County Property Assessor Steve Pierce. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Thanks for being on the show this morning.
Glad you asked me.
We're going to talk about property taxes today, everybody's favorite subject,
Right.
I'm sure.
Yes, everybody loves that.
We're going to try to get into, try to answer questions and folks, our listeners, can understand about how the property taxes are calculated,
Right.
how property is appraised, real
Right.
versus personal property, what you can do if you don't agree with your assessment, and all those kind of things
Right.
today. So for the next half hour, we're going to dive into property taxes. Steve, you came into office in 2014.
Right.
Tell folks a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Of course, I've been a commissioner 4 years before that, previous to that, and saw the role of the property assessor and what important office that was as far as the revenue to the county. Of course, years before that, I'd worked in some type of engineering field. I'd worked for the state as a project manager for about 15 years, and I went to Upper Cumming Electric, worked about 15 years, and got to know the county really well, and a lot of our builders, and was a lot of the sites where new buildings were being built, I was there. So that's kind of my background, I guess, there, but really lend itself, because I'm a numbers person, so it really lend itself to, and when I knew the position was going to be open, I just kept, something was eating that. I think in life there's certain things we're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And I do think this was something I was supposed to do.
Right.
And of course we had a 6-person race and ran the race and ran as hard as could and was elected and very fortunate.
Right.
And glad to be the property assessor, and hopefully we're making the office better every day.
Well, and then in your 2014 term, then you run on the odd. We talk about the odd election
Right.
that all the county officials run every 4 years, but yours is 2 years difference than what the regular county officials are. So you had to turn around in 2 years and run again.
Right.
Then, right?
2016. Of course, we're unopposed. They're thankful.
That's the best way to run, isn't it?
It really is. That's a good feeling.
Well, and I think that speaks for the job that you were doing
Well, I
and
appreciate
continue
that.
to do. That no one came up and contested you.
Well, I appreciate that. That's the thing that I've been so pleased with, is the whole team of elected officials come on in 14 was elected. We work well together. Of course, you and I work well together in the same building, and you've done a great job yourself, and a lot of the others have too. So it's
We talk about that team mentality inside of Putnam County, where that all the elected officials work great together. Not only county officials, but city officials,
Sure.
chamber,
Yeah.
tech. All of us come
Right.
together and work together. I think
Right.
that's something that speaks highly for our county,
It
and
does.
and helps us to get things done sometimes
It-
better than other communities.
It does. And we, in our office, we do the appraisals for all the cities. We do their appraisals and assessments also. So we have to work with their tax collecting person, whether it's the city recorder, talk with their mayors occasionally, the city managers, things like that, with all the cities we have within Putnam County. So we want that good working relationship, and we need to do a little better with that. I need to get out and visit them a little more, because they're busy this time of year. It's hard, and when they're busy, we're busy. So, we have a good working relationship and want to.
I want to keep it that way.
Right.
Your job's very important to the county when it comes to, of course, property taxes is our largest revenue. About 28% of the revenue that comes into Putnam County is,
Right.
is through property taxes. Very important that the property get assessed correctly,
Sure.
and so that we're fair to everyone,
Right,
treat everyone the
right.
same. So let's kind of dive in a little bit into the two different types of
Okay.
appraisals that you do and assessments that you do. There's real property and personal property.
Right,
Can
right.
you explain the difference and
Sure.
to our listeners as to how
Sure.
those are?
Sure, and everybody knows there's one part of that, the real property. Everybody understands that the real property is the land, buildings, where it's a residential home, where it's a commercial structure, building, or just a garage on a property or something like that. Then the tangible personal property is probably the most misunderstood. It's kind of odd to think about tangible personal property. What is that? That is the equipment you use to do your business. If you have a business and you have a business license and you're operating a business, whether it be in your home or whatever, you've probably got equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that equipment is, by state law, is taxed. People a lot of times think it's the county sent them a bill for maybe sales tax again, and they'll call the office and say, "Hey, I paid sales tax on that already." No, you don't understand. This is a yearly, annual thing.
Right.
You have to turn a schedule in of equipment, any changes from year to year, and you turn that in. And March 1 is the big day. Today's the big day, so we've been had a good flow of the office this week, and But those are different. The assessment levels are different. That's handed down by the state legislature. They set those laws, sometime back where your real property is assessed at 25% residential, 40% commercial, and 30% if you're personal property.
So let's walk through that process when it comes to the personal property and if you own a business. So I go down to the county clerk's office and I get my business license, let's say, and then at some point in time you're going to see that I've applied and got a business license, and then you're going to send me some kind of documentation to start the process.
Right. We get the permits. They share those permits with us, and also we're audited by the state of what we do. We have to do so much looking as far as findings. They call it finding new businesses that are out there. We look in the newspaper. That's something they audit us. The state does it. We do that, and we do that. But the big thing is the permits, the business license. We get the business license, and we'll send a letter out saying, "Hey, welcome to glad you get your business started, and we want to help you with this part of it. This is state law. You have to pay property taxes. You'll be getting something January of every year, and you have to have it turned in by March 1st. Just some documentation to start. Yeah. And then around January 1st, or after the 1st, we'll send out those schedules that have your previous listing. If your previous business, you own the business the year before last, and if you got new equipment or you want to remove equipment off of it, you put those notes on there and you turn that back in, whether it be by mail. We have an online. Since I come in the office, we've actually went to a web-based appraisal system, and you can also do these online now. So you can do them online. You can bring them in the office. So you turn those in. It's a self-reporting appraisal, basically, because everything you self-report, we put on that's our appraisal.
So I go through an inventory of my business,
right,
whether it be office equipment, computers, or whatever it takes to run my business as far as equipment and things go. Then I turn that list into your office, and then you take and make the decision, look at it, and do the assessment on it, and then I'm going to get a notice back then?
Right. Well, you actually, I left one part out. You put down there what year you bought it, okay, and how much you paid for it. So you're really doing the work in the appraisal yourself. There's 10 different groupings of different types of equipment, and you put there's different depreciation levels. So you get depreciation right off the bat on that equipment. Then yes, we'll send you a tax bill at the same time, or we won't, but the trustee's office, Mr. Fred Nelson, will, from our information. So we just take your information you give us, your asset listing list, we call it, and we put that within those blocks, the correct blocks with different depreciation levels are, and it's set out by the state of Tennessee. Every county in the state uses that. So and then you get a tax bill in October, just like you would for the real property, but it'll be for personal property.
Personal property.
Yeah, right.
So, and this is basically just for business owners, though, right?
That's right. That's business owners.
If I don't own a business, I don't have to worry about it.
No, that's right. You don't have to worry about it.
All right. We're talking to Property Assessor Steve Pierce this morning. You're listening to Today in Putnam County on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. I'm Randy Porter, your host. More with Steve when we come back. Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Executive Randy Porter. The show is talking about all the great things happening in our community. Hope you're having a great Saturday morning. We're talking with Property Assessor Steve Pierce this morning about property taxes and how the process works in appraising and assessing our property. Steve, we talked about personal property if you own a business, right, and how that's assessed. Let's talk about real property or land, which most of our listeners are probably more familiar with. So let's say that someone goes out and they build a new house. Let's talk about new construction first. Talk about how that new home gets put on the tax rolls and how that process works.
Well, now, actually, the county, of course, you have to buy building permits within the county. If you're in the city now, I think all of our cities now in our county have building permits required. So they'll usually send those to us. We have availability of the database for the county, but the cities also usually email us those, and we keep a track. We put a review flag of some type on there, depending on what it is, if it's remodel, new construction, and then we'll pull those listings ever so often and look at the new construction and different. There's commercial. We pull a commercial report. We pull a residential remodel. We pull a residential new construction, and the guys will go look at those. We've separated our appraisers into geographical areas. So we've got one appraiser responsible for a geographical area. We tried to divide the parcels as evenly as we could, and they'll go look at those. If it's not completed, they'll put a percentage of finished, 30%, 75%, and then when it's ready, and it's finished, I mean, you're
move-in ready.
Move-in ready.
Yeah.
And then we'll measure it and put it on the tax roll. We'll measure that. We've worked on the procedures within the office to be very consistent in what we're doing, and we'll add that to tax roll. We got the web-based appraisal system we have comes from the state of Tennessee, and we put the data in there, and it actually calculates, you know, a appraisal number, a total appraisal for us.
So the state furnishes software that your office uses, and all this is already built in so that you're trying to get a fair appraisal,
Right.
no matter if you're in Putnam County
Right.
or Overton
Right.
County or whatever county you're in.
Right, and in those counties, doing reappraisals where you do a lot of that, reappraisal, a lot of the work of, when we did reappraisal in 2016, I learned a lot. That was my first, I'd just been in office a year when we started on it, and then the numbers come out in 2016. We'll look at lots of analysis of data right before that and leading up to it. You know, our square foot rates for houses, commercial buildings was put into our system. You know, the land per acre was looked at, the 3 years of previous sales, what, you know, in certain areas on that road, and we'll price that from that previous 3 years.
That's a key, I think, when you're looking, folks are looking at their appraised value of their home. That may not be the amount that they paid for the home,
Right.
or the amount that it cost to build it.
Right, that's right. We've had a lot of questions because our market has created such a gap from 2016 that the square foot rates or the per acre rate that people giving for land or houses is because we're working off those 2016 numbers. We can't, by law, we can't change that until we do a reappraisal again, and that's 2021. We're on, Putnam County's on a 5-year plan.
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years plan, we have to bring everything back up to market value. So yeah, that's the reason that sometimes now, you're right, we don't match the sale prices with our appraisals sometimes because we can't. Because if we've talked about that a lot, if you raise that in some manner to manipulate it to get up to that appraisal, in the state really they'll get us on audit if we do that also. We can't do that because if you do that and get that up there now, then when you change those square foot rates again, it will put the appraisal way above what they actually gave for it, what a market value is at that point.
Right. So what you give for your house today, what you paid for your house may not be the appraisal value. You're looking at sales around those homes, and so every 5 years, county's required to go through a reappraisal.
By state law, have to.
But you're required every year to go and review a certain percentage of the property in Putnam County.
we have to. We're always working on reappraisal. Everything we do leads up to reappraisal. The first year after reappraisal, we have to review 25% of the county for the 4 years, which makes 100%. We have to review 10,000 parcels a year, which is, it's a plan laid out. It's sent directly to the comptroller's office to be signed off on. I mean, it's a big deal if you deviate from that plan. It has to be amended and re-signed off. So we have to take quarterly marks of getting those parcels looked at and signed off by me and some of the comptroller's office. So it's a pretty busy time in that review looking at all those properties.
All those properties. So we're talking with Steve Pierce, our Putnam County Property Assessor, this morning, today in Putnam County. What if someone doesn't agree with what their property has been assessed at when they get their tax notices? What's the process that they can do to get that looked at?
Actually, by state law, again, May 20th, we have to have a change of assessment. If you've had any change from the previous tax year, you will get a change of assessment in the mail. You should get a change of assessment saying you've had a change. You can look at that change, and those are May 20th is the mail-out dates. That's usually a target date. That's the date. The law, you can send it sooner if you want to. And they can call the office at that point, and we do what we call an informal review. There's different assessor's office react different to that. Some like to put them on a schedule to be heard by the County Board of Equalization. I like to do an informal where we'll go out and look at it. We'll do some more analysis of it and try to come up, are we correct? Are our records correct? We'll ask you some questions. We'll ask you maybe if you've got a private appraisal or something like that. And then if we can't resolve it through that process there, the 1st of June, by state law, we have to start, the County Board of Equalization has to start meeting, and they meet through the month of June, and you can come and bring your case in front of them.
Plead your case.
Yeah, you plead your case, yeah. And I encourage anybody if they're going to do that. We have a lot of people come and bring sales. They'll bring comparable sales and some data to back up what they're saying. Usually our county boards won't adjust it if you just come in and say, mine's just too high.
Yeah.
They want some data because we've built it using data, actually. And we're okay with that process. I'm really okay with that because there's some things, there's to a point we just can't do any more to it.
We can
only do so much to it by state law. and stay in those guidelines. People think a lot of times we can just adjust those values if we want, and we can. I mean, if we adjust values and start lowering things, I have to be able to explain why.
Right.
When an audit comes through and they look at those, I have to say why we did this.
And this Board of Appeals, for our listeners, those folks are not government employees.
No.
They are citizens out here that have been chosen to serve on this board, and they come and meet once a year and hear the person's appeal. So if they don't agree with the local Board of Appeal, do they have other appeals?
Yes, after that there's a certain deadline. I think it's 45 days after they can appeal to the state. Really, they can apply online, and when it's appealed to the state, we just call it State Board of Equalization hearing, and they can do that online, and an administrative judge from the state of Tennessee under the comptroller's office will be assigned to that case. And they'll sign, if you got 10 appeals in this county, he'll be assigned to those 10. So.
And if they don't disagree with that, the final, I mean, if they do disagree with that, that'd be the final, would be taking it to court?
They can go, there's an Assessment Appeals Commission they can go to also. Although, as far as this county, I've never had to go to one. I'm going to one in 2 weeks.
Be the first that you
it's a commercial. It's a commercial property, and there's several assessors. I think there's 135 properties involved, and Putnam County has 2 of those. And then the next one is Chancery Court.
Chancery Court.
So there are several levels of appeal.
Lots of appeals, folks. If you don't agree with what your property's been assessed at, call Mr. Pierce. Talk with him, or someone in his office. They'll work with you, and if you don't agree with that, then you can go to the Board of Appeals and take it all the way up through the state. We're talking with Putnam Property Assessor Steve Pierce this morning on Today in Putnam County, here on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. I'm Randy Porter, your host. Much more with Mr. Pierce. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Executive Randy Porter. Talking with Mr. Steve Pierce, Property Assessor for Putnam County this morning. Hope everyone's having a great Saturday morning. We've been discussing property taxes, real property, personal property, going through all the ifs, ands, and buts, and different things that we can do as far as if you don't agree with your assessment and how your office works. Talk a little bit about the penny rate. Is how we know it. You have to figure that for the county commission every year, and that's very important to us when it comes to the amount of property taxes and how we budget. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. I know that you and I start working together pretty early on calculating the penny rate, and it's really what a penny is worth in tax dollars for us. And it's something. We pull several numbers. I run a report, assessment summary, a total report, and of all the total appraisal in the county, and we've added those numbers together and come up with what that penny's worth in the county. And I know that we can apply the tax rate to it and figure our revenue, what total revenue we're going to receive for the year. And you and I start that process from pretty early for the budget committee. And it's a pretty tedious thing. Don't tell me how many times before I give that to you guys I have figured that, and I actually asked Ben Rogers, I do our CTAS, which is all one of our commissioners. I asked him to come in. He works for CTAS, our consultant, and I asked him to come in. He usually will come in and check up on my numbers and make sure that we're right. Because if we give you guys the wrong numbers, then the budget's so messed up. Then if we do that, we just got to stay on point with that.
When we talk about the penny rate, we're talking about what 1 penny of property tax brings in to Putnam County. So Putnam County's tax rate now is $2.73. So $2.73 times whatever our penny rate is, I think it's about $165 or something right now. $165,000 per penny, and that changes from year to year. So very important to the commission.
It is.
And then you and I don't have anything to do with what the tax rate is.
No, that's right.
That is set by the county commissioners.
Right.
24 county commissioners make that decision each July when they pass the budget. So that penny rate is very important.
It is.
One thing that I thought was very intriguing, I guess, when I was looking at the old Dispatch newspaper photos and going through those when we were doing 175th anniversary and everything, found a newspaper article from 1969, and the headlines were, Putnam County passes budget and sets tax rate at $2.75.
Wow.
So in 1969, our tax rate was $2.75.
Right.
Today it's $2.73. We're actually 2 cents lower than we were in the 60s.
Wow. Yeah.
But what's changed is the value of people's property.
It is the total appraisal. The appraisal's on it, and you're right. The value is, and it's what you hope. You hope when you buy property that it appreciates it. It increases, your equity increases.
And it has.
Yeah, it has.
You know, you think about our homes and our property that we own.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's has went up in value, especially in the last few years since
Yes.
we've come out of the financial crisis and a lot of
Yes.
building boom going on in our county. So that per penny rate is very important. You made a lot of changes in your office since 2014 when you come in, and we're talking to Steve Pierce, our property assessor, this morning. Tell us a little bit about some of those changes that been made.
Well, I mean, and I tried. I came in office day one and met with the staff, and I told them we're going to run this as a professional business office. We're going to become very professional in what we do. We deal with professional agencies. We deal with other government bodies. That's something I wanted, that level of professionalism.
Right.
I wanted a level of accuracy because I come from an engineering background. The state told me the only thing they come met with me the first week I was in office because of our prior history. There's really some hopeful that we're going to head the right direction with my office. And they said the only thing concerns us about you is that you're going to want everything too accurate.
Too perfect.
Too perfect because you've come from
well,
a survey.
not too perfect.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, too
you're
accurate.
You're a perfectionist.
Yeah, I'm a perfectionist, and especially when it comes to those numbers. And they said, you know, there's percentages you can be within a range, and that's okay. And I said, point taken, I understand that. We've actually done a lot. The first year we went to a web-based appraisal system. Anything we do, the changes are seen by anybody that does business in real estate can see that right then. We've actually, as we talked about, we've taken the geographical area and divided the parcels up. With each appraiser has their own. Mm-hmm. We've put some standards in place on how do you measure a house, how do you appraise that house. We've put some standards which they really never had. We've put a lot of accountability. We've started a really rigorous training program. We've got 2 people within the office now that have a certification, assessor level certification, 1 with the state of Tennessee, and I don't think anybody's ever been certified within that office. I know of any property assessor. Actually, myself and our field staff supervisor John Sanders, we're the first 2 to have that appraisal, and there's 5 levels of it that we're continuing on. We're trying to get everyone else in those levels, those classes, training, give them that knowledge. You know, that was my thing also. I said I want to be the most trained, experienced staff that we could be.
Yeah, we still got about a minute left, Steve. What's the toughest part of your job? If you had to pick out one thing, can you pick out one thing that you say was tough about it?
It's probably tough dealing with somebody that's upset, but really probably the toughest thing is during the reappraisal. I had this happen. I had some older couples come in that were living on fixed incomes. Their appraisal went up because of the previous sales, and it wasn't really that their property was overappraised. That was one tough thing for me, is not being able to help that person.
Because you can't by state law.
Because I can't by state law. I mean, we can't manipulate those appraisals to be what we want them to be. Mm-hmm. That's one of the tough things. And we get to the point, that's the reason the appeals process part is there. That's probably the toughest thing, is not being able to help people like that you know that probably needs the help, but it's not really, your hands are tied. I mean, you have to do what's right.
You have to obey the law.
You have to obey the law and have to do what's right and go on. That's one of the toughest things, I guess. And explaining that. Explaining what we do is probably the next hardest thing we do.
Right.
Is we have to talk about, you know, that people don't understand what we do, and talk about why we did what we did.
Right. Well, you do a great job, Steve, and I want to thank you for the great job that you do for Putnam County. A very professional office that you have, and very important job that you have for Putnam County. And thank you for being on the show this morning.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Steve Pierce, Putnam County Property Assessor. It's now time for What's Happening, the part of the show where I keep you informed of some of the special events going on in Putnam County. Today, it's going on at Heidelberg's Arena from now until 6 p.m. tonight, the Upper Cumberland Home and Garden Show, sponsored by the Upper Cumberland Home Builders Association. It's also tomorrow on Sunday from 12 to 4. Go by and check that out. Tonight, March the 2nd at 6 p.m. is the Cook Vegas Gala at our Upper Cumberland Regional Airport, sponsored by the Cookville Children's Museum. All the proceeds go to the museum. Wednesday, March 13th at 5:30, Spring Carnival at the Cookville First Baptist Church. It's all free with bounce houses, games, food, and fun for the whole family, so go by and check that out. Saturday, March the 16th at 6:30, Murder Mystery and Cookville Movie Awards at the Saltbox Inn. That's sponsored by the Cookville Sunset Rotary. On Saturday, March the 16th and Sunday, March the 17th, our free medical, dental, and vision clinic, sponsored by RAM. It's at the Cookville High School. If you know someone in need, this is a great event each year. Tell them to check it out. On Friday, March the 22nd and Saturday, March the 23rd, 7 p.m., the Nitro Arena Cross motorcycle races, sponsored by Motorhead Events at the Tennessee Tech Heidelberg's Arena on Gainsborough Grade. Saturday, March the 30th at 10 a.m., the Upper Cumberland Pet Expo at Heidelberg's. This will be the first one. It's hosted by the Friends of the Putnam County Animal Shelter. They're going to have lots of pet vendors, vaccinations, microchipping clinics, and much, much more. Go by and check that out. Saturday, April the 13th at 6 p.m., the Cookville Regional Charitable Foundation's Pink Gala. It's at the Leslie Town Center. All the proceeds go to the Free Ladies Mammogram Program. Great event. Go by and check that out. Saturday, April the 20th at 10 a.m., second annual adult Easter egg hunt is being held at Delmonico Winery. They're going to have over 4,000 eggs filled with prizes. You can check out their website for more details. And finally, on Saturday, April the 27th at 10 a.m., the Made Here Market at the Biz Foundry over on North Cedar Street. They're going to be showcasing our local artists, makers, and creators from around the Upper Cumberland. And that's what's happening in Putnam County. For more details on any of these events, go to my website, randyporter.org, or my Facebook page, Putnam County, Tennessee. If you have an event you would like mentioned, please message or email me. That's our show for today. I want to thank my guest, Steve Pierce, again for being here. I hope you'll join us every Saturday morning at 10:30 for Today in Putnam County, right here on News Talk 107.7 at 1400 The Hub. Remember, you can also download the WHUB app and listen to us on your cell phone. If you missed any of our shows, also check out my website, randyporter.org, where you can catch all of those past shows. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media with Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm County Executive Randy Porter, hoping you have a great rest of your Saturday. May God continue to bless our great county.